My girlfriend's friends had set up a clever little act. She was supposed to pretend she was walking out in anger. She yelled, "I can't do this anymore." I replied calmly, "Perfect. Now everyone will know what your friend told me." Her friend's eyes snapped toward her, and what happened next was completely shocking for all of them. I'm a 29-year-old property appraiser. I evaluate commercial real estate for banks and investment firms. Nothing glamorous, but it pays well and keeps me traveling between properties most weeks. My name's irrelevant to this story, but what matters is that I'm the kind of guy who notices details. It's literally my job. Small inconsistencies, things that don't add up, numbers that seem off. I catch them. It's saved clients millions over the years, and it's a skill that bleeds into every part of my life, including my personal relationships. I'd been dating Brooke for 2 years. Met her at a mutual friend's barbecue in the summer of 2022. She was a dental hygienist at a practice in South Austin, had this infectious laugh that could light up a room, and we just clicked instantly. We spent that whole evening talking about everything: travel, childhood memories, our favorite terrible movies. Within 6 months, we'd moved in together to a nice 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs outside Austin. Life felt stable. Good, even. We had routines. Sunday morning farmers market runs. Tuesday night cooking experiments that usually ended in takeout. Friday movie nights on the couch. Brooke had this tight-knit group of friends she'd known since college. There was Tessa, her best friend, loud, opinionated, always the center of attention at any gathering. She worked in sales and had that aggressive, pushy energy that some people found charming, but I always found exhausting. Then Vanessa, who was quieter but had this sharp, observant way about her. She was a graphic designer, kept to herself mostly, but you could tell she was always watching, always thinking. And finally, Lindsay, who worked in marketing for some tech startup and always seemed to be planning the next girls' trip or brunch or wine tasting. They did everything together. Girls' nights every Thursday without fail. Weekend trips to San Antonio or Houston every other month. Constant group texts that made Brooke's phone buzz at all hours. I got along with them fine. Or so I thought. They were friendly enough to my face, included me in group dinners occasionally, laughed at my jokes. But there was always this underlying current I couldn't quite place, like I was tolerated rather than welcomed. Update 1. It was a Friday evening in late September 2024. Brooke had invited the girls over for dinner and drinks at our place. I'd just gotten back from appraising a strip mall in Round Rock. 3 hours of measuring spaces, checking electrical systems, documenting water damage in a back storage unit. I was honestly looking forward to a quiet night with a beer and whatever was on Netflix, but Brooke insisted it would be fun. "They haven't been over in forever," she said while chopping vegetables for a salad. "Plus, you barely see them anymore. It'll be good for everyone." So I agreed. Took a quick shower, changed into jeans and a clean shirt, and helped her set up the dining table. They arrived around 7. Tessa showed up first with 2 bottles of wine, one red, one white, and immediately started talking about some drama at her office involving a co-worker who'd stolen her client. Vanessa brought this elaborate cheese board from Whole Foods with 3 different types of cheese, crackers, dried fruit, and honeycomb. Lindsay came with store-bought cupcakes from some trendy bakery that she claimed were artisan and life-changing. We ate pasta. Brooke had made this lemon garlic shrimp linguine that she'd been perfecting for months, drank wine, and laughed at stories I'd heard a dozen times before. Tessa told the one about the time they'd gotten lost in New Orleans during a bachelorette party. Lindsay recounted her disastrous Tinder date from the previous week. Everything seemed normal, comfortable even. Around 9:30, Brooke excused herself to the bathroom. The moment she left the room, the energy shifted. Tessa leaned forward across the table, wine glass in hand, and looked at me with this strange expression, half smirk, half pity. "So," she said, swirling her wine, "how are things really going with you two?" I set down my fork. "Good. Great, actually." "What?" Vanessa and Lindsay exchanged a glance. It was quick, but I caught it. That's when I felt it. That shift in the air when people know something you don't. When there's a secret everyone's in on except you. "No reason," Tessa said, but her tone said otherwise. There was something smug about it, something knowing. Just checking in, making sure my girl's happy. I was about to press her when Brooke came back into the living room. The conversation shifted immediately, like someone had flipped a switch. They started talking about some reality TV show I'd never heard of, and the rest of the night passed without incident. But that moment stuck with me. The look, the tone, the way they all went quiet. The way Vanessa had looked down at her plate like she couldn't meet my eyes. 2 weeks later, on a Wednesday afternoon in mid-October, I was working from home, reviewing appraisal reports at the kitchen table. Brooke was at the clinic doing cleanings and dealing with patients. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You should know what's really going on. Meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come alone. Vanessa. I stared at the message for a solid minute. Read it 3 times. My heart started pounding in that slow, heavy way it does when you know something bad is coming, but you don't know what yet. This wasn't some casual, hey, let's catch up text. This was deliberate, secretive, urgent. I didn't tell Brooke. When she got home that evening and asked about my day, I smiled and said it was fine. We ordered Thai food, watched an episode of some cooking competition show, and went to bed like everything was normal. But I barely slept. Update 2. The next day, I showed up at Riverside Cafe at 2:50 p.m. It was a small coffee shop near the lake, the kind with mismatched furniture, exposed brick walls, and local art on the walls that looked like someone had thrown paint at a canvas and called it profound. Vanessa was already there, sitting in a corner booth away from the windows, stirring a latte she clearly hadn't touched. She looked nervous, tired. I slid into the seat across from her. What's this about? She didn't look at me right away, just kept staring at her cup, watching the foam dissolve. Finally, she said, I don't know if I should be doing this. Then why did you text me? She exhaled slowly, like she was letting out air she'd been holding for weeks. Because you deserve to know. And because Tessa and Lindsay think it's funny, and I'm tired of being part of it. I'm tired of pretending it's okay. My stomach dropped. Part of what? Vanessa looked up. Her eyes were serious, almost sad. Brooke's been cheating on you. The words hit me like a freight train. I sat there, frozen, as the coffee shop noise, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of other customers, someone's laptop keyboard clicking, faded into white noise. It started about 4 months ago. Vanessa continued, her voice low. Some guy she met through a mutual friend at a rooftop bar downtown. His name's Connor. He works in finance, some investment firm. They've been meeting up whenever you're out of town for work. Sometimes at his place in West Campus. Sometimes at hotels. She told us about the Driscoll once. Thought it was romantic or something. I couldn't speak. My mind was racing, trying to process what I was hearing, trying to fit this information into the life I thought I knew. Tessa and Lindsay know, Vanessa said quietly. They've been helping her cover it up. Fake plans, fake excuses. Girls' night, when she's really with him. Spa day, when they're at lunch together. They think it's some kind of game, like Brooke's living this double life and they're all in on this exciting secret. Tessa especially. She acts like it's a TV show or something. Why are you telling me this? I finally managed, my voice hoarse. Because it's wrong, she said simply. I thought maybe it would just fizzle out, that Brooke would come to her senses. But it's been months, and it's getting worse. And now they're planning something for tomorrow night. They're all coming over to your place again, and they're going to stage this big fake fight. Brooke's supposed to pretend she's breaking up with you, storming out, making this huge scene. They think it'll be hilarious. Like some twisted prank to see how you'll react. I felt nauseous. The coffee I'd ordered sat untouched in front of me. Why would they do that? Because Tessa's bored with her own life, I guess. Because Lindsay thinks drama is entertainment. Because they've lost sight of the fact that you're a real person and not some character in their story. I don't know. But I'm telling you now so you're not blindsided. So you can decide what to do. I left the cafe in a daze. Drove home on autopilot, barely remembering the route. When Brooke got back that evening around 6:30, she was all smiles, talking about a difficult patient she'd had, asking about my day, suggesting we try that new pizza place that just opened. I played along, smiled, nodded, asked questions. But inside, I was already planning. Already thinking through every detail of the last 4 months. Every time she'd said she was with the girls, every overnight trip, every late night at work. Update 3. Friday night arrived. Just like Vanessa said, Brooke mentioned casually that morning while we were having coffee. The girls are coming over tonight around 7:30. That cool? Sure, I said, keeping my voice even. Sounds fun. I spent the entire day preparing. Not food. Not drinks. My response. I thought through every possible way it could go. Everything I wanted to say. I made sure I had my phone charged, my evidence ready. I even rehearsed in the mirror during lunch, which felt ridiculous but necessary. They arrived right on schedule, 7:30 on the dot. Same routine as before. Wine, cheese, the cheese board again. Small talk about work and weekend plans. I was calm, friendly. I even poured the wine, made sure everyone's glasses were full, asked Lindsay about her new marketing campaign. Around 8:45, I saw Brooke glance at Tessa. A signal. Tessa gave this tiny nod. Brooke stood up suddenly. Her face shifted into this exaggerated expression of frustration. Eyebrows furrowed, lips pressed together, the whole performance. "You know what?" she said loudly, her voice cutting through the conversation. "I can't do this anymore." Tessa and Lindsay's eyes lit up. I could see them trying not to smile, trying to maintain the act. This was it, the show they'd been waiting for. Brooke crossed her arms dramatically. "I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough for you. I'm tired of being taken for granted. I'm done." I looked at her, then at Tessa, who was leaning forward with this barely contained excitement. Then at Lindsay, who had her phone positioned like she might record this. Vanessa sat back, looking uncomfortable, her eyes darting between everyone. They were all watching me, waiting for my reaction. Shock, maybe tears, desperate pleas to not leave, begging her to reconsider. Instead, I leaned back in my chair, took a slow sip of my beer, and said calmly, "Perfect. Now everyone will know what your friend told me." The room went dead silent. Brooke's face drained of color instantly. Tessa's smirk vanished like someone had slapped it off her face. Lindsay froze mid-sip, her wine glass suspended in the air. "What are you talking about?" Brooke stammered. "Vanessa told me everything," I said evenly, looking directly at Brooke. "About Connor. About the last 4 months. About the hotels. The lies. About this stupid little performance you three planned for tonight." Tessa's jaw dropped. "Vanessa told you?" She turned to Vanessa. "Are you serious right now?" Vanessa met her gaze without flinching. "Yeah, I did. Because someone had to. I didn't let them derail the moment. I know everything, Brooke. Where you've been. Who you've been with. The Driscoll Hotel on August 23rd when you said you were at a dental conference. The night at his apartment on September 5th when you claimed Tessa's car broke down. The lunch dates. The text messages you thought you deleted but backed up to the cloud." Brooke looked at her friends, panic spreading across her face like wildfire. I don't, this isn't. Don't. I cut her off firmly. "I know everything. I've spent the last 24 hours going through every detail. I have Vanessa's texts. I have screenshots of Connor's Instagram, where, by the way, you're tagged in 3 photos from last month at some bar downtown. I have bank statements showing hotel charges on nights you said you were at girls' nights. I pulled our shared credit card history. Everything." Lindsay stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "This is insane. You're making this up. You're paranoid." I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. Pulled up the photos. The receipts. The screenshots. "Want to see?" No one moved. "You want to tell them, Brooke?" I said. "Or should I?" Brooke's hands were shaking. Her eyes filled with tears. "I can explain. It's not what you think." "No," I said firmly. "You can't. Because there's nothing to explain. You cheated. You lied for 4 months. You brought him around your friends, took photos with him, lived this whole separate life. And your friends," I looked at Tessa and Lindsay, "helped you do it because they thought it was entertaining. Because they thought my pain would be funny." Tessa tried to recover, her voice defensive. "Okay, look, maybe we went too far with the prank tonight, but you're blowing this way out of proportion. You think tonight's the problem?" I interrupted, my voice rising slightly despite my effort to stay calm. "You helped my girlfriend cheat on me for 4 months. You covered for her. You created alibis. You laughed about it in your group chat. Yeah, Vanessa showed me some of those messages too. And you thought staging a fake breakup would be the cherry on top. Like I'm some kind of entertainment for you." No one spoke. The silence was deafening. I stood up. "Get out. All of you." They didn't move at first. Just sat there in stunned silence, like they couldn't process that their plan had imploded so spectacularly. "Now," I said. Lindsay grabbed her purse and bolted for the door without a word. Tessa followed, muttering something under her breath that sounded like, "Unbelievable," but I couldn't tell if she meant me or the situation. Vanessa stood up slowly, paused like she wanted to say something, then thought better of it and left quietly. Brooke stayed frozen in place, tears streaming down her face. You too, I said. Where am I supposed to go? She whispered, her voice breaking. I don't care. Call Connor. Call Tessa. Get a hotel. But you're not staying here tonight. Can we please just talk about this? No. We're done talking. We're done, period. I want you out. She stood there for another moment, mascara running, looking like she might collapse. Then she grabbed her purse and her keys and walked out without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt louder than any slam could have been. Final update. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 34 text messages. Most from Brooke, begging to talk, to explain, saying it was a mistake, saying she loved me. A few from Tessa, accusing me of being manipulative and controlling. Apparently, I was the villain in her version of events. Nothing from Lindsay. One from Vanessa. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better than all of this. I changed the locks that afternoon. Called a locksmith, paid extra for same-day service. Packed up Brooke's things methodically. Her clothes, her toiletries, her books, the decorative pillows she'd insisted we needed, the framed photo of us from our trip to Colorado last year. Put it all in boxes and left them with the apartment manager with instructions that she could pick them up during business hours. Blocked her number. Blocked Tessa and Lindsay too. Their drama was no longer my problem. Vanessa texted me a few days later. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. I feel awful that I waited so long. I told her I appreciated her honesty and that she was the only one who'd done the right thing, even if it was hard and even if it cost her friendships. I meant it. She was the only one with a conscience in that whole group. Over the next few weeks, I heard through mutual friends that Brooke tried to spin the story, said I'd overreacted, that it was complicated, that things weren't as bad as I made them sound, that her friends had pressured her into it. No one bought it. The friend who'd introduced us actually reached out to apologize for bringing her into my life. Said he felt responsible. Tessa and Lindsay apparently had a falling out with Brooke too. Turns out loyalty only goes so far when there's no more fun to be had, when the secret's out and the excitement's gone. Vanessa told me later that Tessa had tried to blame her for ruining everything, and that Lindsay had sided with Tessa. They weren't talking to any of them anymore. I ran into Brooke once in early November at a grocery store on a Wednesday evening. I was grabbing milk and cereal, just trying to get through my shopping list, when I turned the corner in the produce section, and there she was. She looked thinner, tired. Her hair wasn't done the way she usually kept it. She saw me, froze, looked like she wanted to say something. Opened her mouth. Closed it. I just walked past her. There was nothing left to say. No closure needed. It was simply over. By December, I'd moved into a new place closer to downtown, a one-bedroom loft in a renovated warehouse building. Started going to the gym more, something I'd let slide during the relationship. Focused on work, took on extra projects, traveled more for appraisals. Reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with over the last 2 years, guys from college I drifted away from because I was always busy with Brooke and her plans. Connor, by the way, ghosted her 2 weeks after everything blew up. I heard through the grapevine, a friend of a friend who worked at the same firm, that he'd apparently been juggling multiple women and Brooke was just one of them. The thrill was only there when it was secret, when it was forbidden. Once it was out in the open and she was available, he lost interest immediately. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me just felt sad for her. I'm doing better now. Not great. Breakups like that leave a mark. Change the way you see relationships, make you question your judgment, but better. I don't trust as easily anymore. I notice things more, maybe to an unhealthy degree sometimes. I catch myself analyzing people's words, looking for inconsistencies, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But maybe that's not entirely a bad thing. Maybe some skepticism is healthy. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I think about that night. The look on their faces when I said Vanessa's name. The way Tessa's confidence crumbled. The way Brooke's whole performance fell apart in seconds. The way their stupid plan collapsed under the weight of the truth. It felt like justice in the moment. It still almost does. Edit 1. A few people asked if I ever talked to Vanessa again after everything settled. We grabbed coffee once in late November. She apologized again, said she felt guilty for not saying something sooner, for watching it happen for months. I told her I didn't blame her, that I understood how hard it must have been to be caught in the middle. We're not close, but we're civil. She sends me a meme occasionally, checks in every few weeks. She's a good person who got stuck in a bad situation. Edit 2. Someone asked about the apartment. Brooke's name wasn't on the lease, only mine. I'd signed it before we moved in together, and she'd just moved in after. So legally, I had every right to make her leave. She tried to argue it through a lawyer for about a week, claimed she had tenant rights, but her lawyer apparently told her she didn't have a case. She gave up after that. Edit 3. For anyone wondering, I haven't dated since. Maybe I will eventually. I'm not closed off to it completely, but right now, I'm just focused on rebuilding my life, my routines, my sense of self. Getting back to who I was before all of this. And honestly, that's enough for now.